Nobody is clean.
As they shouldn't be.
People are starving.
It's like that's accurate.
It's right.
People are visiting whores.
Hey, Alice. Welcome back. Welcome to the new year. Good to see you. I got some familiar faces tonight. Some of the most powerful members of the Mad Tea Party revisiting once again. We have Cody Parson.
Howdy, howdy.
Of Cody Parson and the Heavy Change infamy wanted in several counties.
It seems that way now.
We're shooting from an undisclosed location because he can't be known where he's at any time. He's always on the run.
Something like that. On the run from what exactly? We'll get into in a different episode.
And we got Brother Dusty joining us as well. Just released his new single, Whoa.
Yeah.
It was just on the radio.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And you haven't lost any momentum ever. You've just been full sprint from the day you were born. So
something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about aliens now. Cody was coming to the table with something. He just looked something up, and I think that's a good way to start. That's a good way to get us into the beginning of the rabbit hole. We'll start with aliens and end with like something fucking mundane.
We'll see where it goes. Okay. I kind of did a little review over the last week about some stuff. I lost my grandma and had like a lot of downtime, and I spent some of that trying to numb myself with substances and UFO talk. So I went down some rabbit holes before we came here. So I've been traveling through parallel holes all around. Speaking
That's
of
a good coping mechanism.
I gotta feel.
It's better
my
than
time
a lot
with
of
something.
others.
Yeah, exactly. I could go the self-destructive route, or I can learn about UFOs. You could say that's kind of
The
self-destructive.
choice is obvious.
Yeah.
That's a different, that's a philosophical discussion for maybe later. But no, I knew when I kind of brought up, we made the jokes about it. I was like, I think you were actually the one that first said it, Alex. I think you said something aliens, and I was like, bro, an alien episode. You were like, yeah, and immediately he said you. He was like, bro,
Really?
Justin will talk about aliens.
Well, UFOs, like Eye of Ra, fucking pyramids.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Egypt.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's
yeah.
like
It's another,
yeah. This is the alien squad.
Yeah.
So that's where it kind of got the spark came from, and I was like, bro, I'll hit him up. I was like, let's do an alien episode about it. So the thing I've noticed going into this kind of if you have this field of interest, is a lot of people have different opinions about obviously multiple facets of the supernatural and the unidentified flying object and aerial phenomenon. Now that as it's known, UAPs. And I figured a good way to start would be kind of like everybody coming to the table with their theory about like alien existence, because I kind of have an entire theory about it all. We could start with that if you're down.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me lay this down. All right. So I think a lot of what I'm about to say is kind of all pieced together. And before I'll preface this with like, a lot of people are going to talk shit about this being linked to some of the things you hear on Rogan. And like, maybe in some of it you've heard on Rogan before. Nobody give me shit about this because I've been into this far longer than the podcast world. Like,
who fucking cares?
Okay.
Hi, Rogan.
Anyway,
no, I didn't mean it. No, I mean, like, who fucking cares if you heard it on Rogan?
Yeah.
Rogan's discusses a lot of things that were
He discusses everything.
Yeah.
Hey, you
And
know
this is the alien talk.
You know who else knew a lot of shit? Hitler. Hitler knew a lot of shit that you could learn from, like about science, like how Nazi science, not good. Don't do that. Are we gonna pretend that there's nothing to learn from them?
We can't.
Can we say that? No.
It's just like,
anyway,
it's just like Ollivander told Harry in the first Harry Potter. He's like, Voldemort did terrible things.
Yeah.
Great, but terrible.
Yeah.
So kind of along those lines. But more or less, this is through growing up. My first real like interest in my real strong interest in aliens came from a single movie of my youth. And when people talk about like this is the scariest movie growing up, bro, this was my scariest movie. Signs. Mel Gibson's Signs.
The part where he runs across the thing?
Dude, there's a lot of little things about it that it's like, this isn't coming out and being scary, but there's tiny things.
When he's on the
like,
roof for just a split second, you're in like 8th grade, and you're like,
the kids in the basement.
Dude.
And like the fingers through like the fit.
We had to watch that in school, bro.
What?
Yeah, on the it was crazy.
That's crazy, dude.
It's in the auditorium.
You weren't in Tennessee,
in the auditorium, dude. It was like a convo.
Oh, that's wild. I would have kind of been about with a big group of people.
Man.
But that's the first, I have to say, like, that's the first movie, because as a child, like, you know, first scary movies, whatever. But as I got old, probably 6, 7, or 8, my parents were on drugs and shit. Like, real life was a lot scarier than all this fantasy shit I've seen in movies. But that was the first movie that I was like, holy fuck.
Damn,
like when it's the world news is showing about it and all talking about it, and like the kids are at a birthday party in like fucking like Central America, and they're all like screaming in Spanish, and everyone's like, and the fucking alien like walks across. Oh, everyone like freaks out. Joaquin Phoenix has like a meltdown. That shit scared the fuck out of me when I was like, you know, in 7th grade or whatever the fuck I was in. It freaked me out. But it also was like, aliens.
Yeah.
This is
so what's up
of
with
all
that?
the things. Yeah, of all the things. Exactly. I was like, of all the things that could happen, this is the shit that could happen. And it fucked me up. I was like, okay. So that started kind of my lifelong obsession.
Yeah.
So what I'm about to go into is kind of basically what I'm saying is, after years of probably a good solid 20 years of strong interest in this subject, this is what I kind of more or less believe. And it aligns with a few different things, both in like historical context and in the context of like pop culture. Like, little did I realize as I was growing up, a lot of what I believed was in line with the main core of the Assassin's Creed games.
Really? I haven't played those, so I don't know.
Well, we'll get into this in a moment. Okay. So more or less, my core belief is that, and this is going to be crazy, and I'm coming to this conversation as somebody who claims to be a Christian.
Okay.
So some people might be taken aback by this take, but have at it what you will. I believe in an undisclosed amount of time, X amount of years ago, Earth itself was kind of covered in animals. We had creatures, we had single cell organisms grew to be like animals. You know, there's proof of all that. However, I think at some point, something in the ape family was biologically altered and engineered and fucked with.
Yeah, lizard.
I think something came down from space, from another dimension. We can go into those.
Yeah, those are
later.
Two different things that are both kind of true.
Exactly.
Or the water.
Well, that's a whole. It could have been the water. We don't know. Something came from
unironically in the water.
Yeah.
On the moon.
Real as fuck though.
From another dimension and from outer space. All of the.
So I'm wondering if those are all different and they exist in different ways, or if just keep going.
Okay.
Yeah. We can
get really deep on this.
I want to hear. Your expounded theory.
Basically, I believe that something either came from space, the water, some other entity. It could have been lizard people. We don't fucking know. Some other entity. Like I said, we can go into let's go into what they
from
do
the
first.
ocean goes crazy. That's a fucking crazy one.
Exactly, and there's so many good things to back it up. But a force came in from somewhere else. A variable force came in, altered the evolution of this creature. Because if we look like humanity is exceeded in evolution a lot faster than everything else in our animal family, like by a lot.
They can point out a major jump that makes no
No,
fucking sense.
Yeah,
The missing
at all.
link.
Yeah, the missing link. There's something that's like,
Yeah.
yo, something changed something.
Mhm.
And I kind of have a
Even how
belief.
far we advanced in the last 10 years compared to the 10 years prior compared to the 10 years
Technology, exactly. That's a whole. We can get into that discussion later too, because that's part of the grand scheme too. But I believe at some point something came in, genetically altered something on the planet, made humanity's advancement evolutionarily, biologically, all basically made the jump happen.
Self-awareness.
The reasoning for that, there's a lot of different theories. People can go into a lot of different things, but the fact of the matter is it happened. And I think whatever catalyst, whatever being, whatever variable came in and like changed that and ushered in humanity as we know it, the humans that we are now. I think the process and the reasoning, all of that came to not matter because free will was developed. And a thing I'll bring up a lot throughout me talking about this is like the idea of singular myths across multiple cultures globally.
Yeah.
And how like there's a fucking flood myth across multiple cultures and there's a creator man and woman myth across multiple cultures. I think whatever the purpose that humanity was
There's
made
only one
for,
story ever.
Exactly. And ultimately, this man and this woman came from humanity, whether they were the first to develop free will, any of that points. Something ushered the turning of humanity against whatever did this to us. And I think that's the original like disconnect of us and aliens. I think it was an alien force that came in, developed this, made, in my personal opinion, made humanity as servants.
Yeah.
Subservient. This is our labor force. These are our fucking monkeys to do our bidding.
Yeah.
And we developed free will and like essentially empathy, and we developed as people.
Right.
And as a force, we turned against these people.
Yeah.
Now, the whole period now that all this happens is all up for debate.
It's like where'd they go?
Exactly.
That's right.
A lot of what backs that up, and for years and years ago, I've looked at a lot of this, is right in line with that, is the idea that gold is considered through time the most valuable thing, but gold is heavier, weaker, and inefficient to make weaponry and do anything.
Yep.
We find thousands of years later, you can put gold on a circuit board and shoot it into space in a road. Why would we need that when we're tribal people running around?
You know what's funny?
Why would that become valuable?
Unless we were taught by the creator to gather this, when we can't bring it to the creator anymore because they're gone, we only recognize that is how you find out who runs shit. And you
That's value.
I want to say something else about gold too. Even though we're not mining it anymore, we're still gathering it up in big piles.
Absolutely.
That's what we base
It
still has commodity.
We as
confidential military bases.
Yeah, where it's not at fucking Hoover Dam like it's supposed to be.
Right.
Where's all America's gold at? Where's all America's gold? No.
China.
But
okay, yeah.
A lot of times the gold gets brought up because that is the most logical reason in a lot of ways. And it would also explain why across every culture on the planet, it's still seen as a valuable commodity. It's still seen as a status symbol. It's still seen as the ticket to their attention.
And then we switch off of a gold standard because, spoiler alert, there is no gold. Right. Where's all our fucking gold? Is it in China? Is it in space? Is it in the ocean? Where's all the gold? Where is the world's gold?
We get used up.
You think we like it's
did we? It's like did we get used up?
Oh yeah, like they fucking took it off. Yeah,
it's just gone.
Well, that's the thing. It's like what you're saying with the idea of then they're gone, and that brings like the Promethean theory. How did we end up knowing all this stuff?
Well, that's my next point.
Yeah.
So if you had something, according to many stories that go through many cultures, one being that was benevolent enough to say, we can't do this to these creatures. and teaches us, and I've always gone back to this, the main thing that separates us from animals is the use and control of fire. And that's it. Everything that we've done comes from our ability to build fire. And that's the only reason we could survive being the feeble ass creatures that we
Right.
are.
We've developed the way we
Great.
have because of fire. Absolutely.
Animals look at you like you're magic if you have a fucking
Fire.
torch.
100%.
They're like, oh, you're a fucking wizard. I'm not fucking with you.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they
No fire, you're food.
That's it. That's it. So I believe through a series of events, the creators in mass or the remnants of it, they leave the planet in some form. They either leave it to be watched, monitored, however that is. But I believe remnants of this creator civilization, this alien civilization, stay on Earth. And slowly we see from multiple cultures that all reference this, inbred with humans, interbred together. I believe that ultimately, when we talk about the proto-civilization, and a lot of times the Younger Dryas theory comes in, which is the Ice Age theory from 12,000 years ago, that they believe basically a lot of people believe that incident was the Great Flood that all these cultures share. I believe the proto-civilization was the remnants of humanity and this creator civilization kind of like interwoven together generationally, whether it be hundreds, thousands. The numbers aren't determined here. But I believe that proto-civilization is also in line with what could be the same civilization as like Atlantis.
Mm-hmm.
And this incident happens, this global incident, whether it's this catastrophe, whether it's a flood, but it checks out for 12,000 years ago for it being a flood. But this happens, destroys this civilization, because we've seen time and time again, and they tell us now how fast Earth itself can erase any fucking trace that we're ever here very quickly. This powerful civilization that kind of runs the planet more or less is wiped away. And the remnants of it are spread globally. And they wind up being all these different cultures spread around the world at different points and on different timelines. Because if you go to like Göbekli Tepe and you see in Turkey these remnants and these hieroglyphics that have these beings on them with these very specific odd bags, they're the same bags that are depicted on fucking Incan temples in Central America. We're talking opposite sides of the world. And like they found the same beings carved on weird Aborigine caves in Australia. Why is this depictions happening all over the planet if there isn't some kind of one token, one central system that a lot of these things come from?
And say all the pyramids in Egypt and ones in South America are not only just star lined, but they're actually lined with themselves.
They're on a what's the word for that?
I know exactly what you're talking. The
ley
lines.
Yes, yeah,
ley lines. Yeah, they're on ley lines, and it's wild when you see.
And it's a grid across where all these, not just most of them are pyramids, but lots of like other religious sites all
around the world,
planet.
And it makes you wonder. All these things,
different cultures,
much too coincidental. When cultures thousands of years apart, thousands of miles apart on opposite sides of the planet, but it's all perfectly aligned with the fucking stars and with each other.
Yeah.
There's too many coincidences like that globally on a scale everywhere. And it's like the most logical explanation for all of it is like a proto-civilization with the foundations of knowledge we don't understand.
So I am with you all the way up until the point where they're like, I guess where I'm saying is I think they're still an overlord right now.
Oh, I believe that's still a thing too.
Yeah. There is a force controlling and manipulating humanity outside of humanity.
Nature, itself.
Yeah. And okay, good point. It's not just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's extraterrestrial and it's interdimensional. It's thought, aliens, and it's actual physical aliens. Yeah. And we're under attack on like two fronts. Yeah. And
I wonder if those fronts are connected.
Could be the same thing.
I mean, they would have to be. If their technology, I think it all grows together. So if their technology is good enough to get here and be superior to us, let alone get here, period, they probably already know about whatever interdimensional travel would be, at least farther than we are, to the same capacity of their technology as farther than
Giving
ours.
ET a Ouija board.
Right.
It's like, I know what to do with this.
Yeah,
What do you
yeah, right.
It's like, looks nice. Take this. I don't need this.
Yeah, or yeah.
Well,
Take this silly
who
earth
you want?
shit.
Baphomet? I got him on dial, dude. Let's
Right.
fucking go.
Holla at your boy.
Yeah. I mean, there's really just so much there. I think there's two completely different conversations when you're talking about like, are aliens from another planet or from another dimension? Period.
The answer is yes.
Yeah,
Both.
exactly.
Yeah. It's all those things.
I think for me, it's just what I can like experience in front of me, and I feel like I have come to understand aliens from like a different dimension. I've never met an alien from outer space, so I think it's cool. Like, but like when I read stuff about it, it's just. I think it was really interesting for a while, and it was just like I can't really do anything with this until I see a fucking alien. You know what I mean?
Less on.
But I've definitely met. I've come. Yeah, that's real as fuck.
We've met them together at fucking Spoopy.
Yeah. And I think honestly that so like basically every single thing you just said, I didn't say shit because I don't really have anything to say because you're just saying, you know what I mean? You're saying everything that I would say. Where I go from there is like I said, more on the interdimensional side, but I think the hard part for me is the farther that you get through that other side, the more that you're closely resembling like the line between supernatural and like schizophrenia or
same thing.
So mental illness. I think some of it's the same thing. But I think that there is a certain degree of both in their extremes where like there's real schizophrenia and then there's real spirituality where multiple people have claimed to meet the same beings from other worlds. You know what I mean? And it's like
DMT trips and stuff.
And a lot of that comes into the archetypes, which is just to me, I mean, that goes back to like the blueprint of the human brain. Like, why do we all see those symbols? Why do we all see these same characters? Like, maybe some of it's programmed. What were you saying?
So what I'm saying is when we talk about is it in your head or not in your head?
Yeah.
What if that's not even a thing that is, and that's the wrong question?
Yeah.
What if what's in your head is what is outside and there is no you?
Yeah.
There just is.
Yeah.
And so schizophrenia to me and channeling, possession, these things are the same thing. It's words that are the problem.
Yeah.
We're trying to put meaning behind something that doesn't give a fuck about how you try to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think English does a good job of capturing it. It's something exterior, like outside of our ability to understand. So
and that's also another thing. It's just like trying to comprehend it. We try to comprehend it from a human lens in this world with this logic and this rationale, but the way that it would exist is all outside of that. So no matter how much we want to talk about it, it's hard for me sometimes when I see everything on the internet, everybody talking. It's just like it's just so much bigger than us that anytime someone's got it figured out and they've got all the details, I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like I don't know. I think but. At the same time, I think our society is just such a small little grain of what's real, and that we're an ant farm for sure. But we're definitely an ant farm, and it's a metaphor for how our society operates, but it goes way deeper than that. Like I think that we're a soup. Like everything that we think matters, literally, is just like basically an illusion compared to the reality of what's controlling everything. Well, like you said, the people that are still there and they sort of exist in the shadows, maybe they're people, maybe there's something from another entity, maybe they're even just a principle that exists in our society that like operates like a bacteria. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like a meme, like a virus. A virus spreads but a meme is a virus that spreads through ideas. Yeah. It's like, are ideas alive?
Maybe Earth is just, for us, it's our planet, but for something else, Earth could just be like a rock that you can get gold and oil and labor
resources
from. Yeah, you can just and it could be way like for us it's super complex because we're so much smaller, but I feel like on the level of whatever we're talking about, there's a good chance that Earth for that thing is just another whatever.
Just like
they're
the
in
idea
that
of an
world.
ant farm.
Yeah,
We're
like,
like the ants
when
of somebody
people
else's bigger picture.
when you get into like the heavy alien conspiracies, they talk about how there's like a fucking galactic federation and all this
Right.
crazy shit, and it's like, I mean, I feel like if someone can travel across the space and then they can come to Earth, it's like they probably know about other planets too. I would assume, for
Yeah,
the most part. I mean,
absolutely.
we might get the one fucking
That
alien
would
that
be
just like
assumption. Yeah.
came here by accident, you know. But you know, it makes sense that whatever we are, I mean, I feel like Earth is kind of a slave planet, honestly, to a certain degree. It's weird. There's so many controversies in the government and everything that I feel like most people agree on from an ethical and moral standpoint. But it's like, so why is it like this? Like, why is it still
Because
like
we
this?
don't have
It would
democracy.
make sense if everything was
Everyone
being
knows,
controlled.
and it's like it goes so deep. It's like even the politicians, why would they do that? And it's like but it
Because
is
they're not in
happening.
control.
It is real. So it's like
They're just the cog.
you can't just throw it away and be like, well, I can't figure out who did it, so it must not be happening. It's like, dude, this shit's definitely real. We're being harvested for our like basically our traumas and our anxiety
Our
and our
negative
depression
emotions.
because you spend money
Yep.
and you engage in everything that is going to make several different people that are all unrelated, but they know that they all make money together when we're fucked. You know,
So
what I
that's
mean?
you guys know much about Buddhism?
Yeah.
That's samsara. Is you go through all this shit, and then they make you go through it again, and you're trapped in the circle. And the way to get out is to let go of you
Yeah.
and basically allow yourself to
Ego
die
death.
and become God,
Yeah.
become Buddha. But that is these demons
Yeah.
keeping you in the wheel.
Yeah.
And the problem is, and it's the same problem we all have, is that we don't want to be God. We don't want to go be
We want the
I
cool
want to
parts.
be Alex.
Everybody wants the cool
You want to be
parts.
Dusty. You want to be Cody.
Yeah.
You want to be Neve. We don't want to be God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess
Everybody
it's
wants the
worth
cool
the
parts.
suffering, right?
Everybody wants the cool parts to be God.
Like this
but
is
no one
actually
wants the hard
fucking
parts.
awesome. Like this
Yeah.
is like where the place to be
Yeah.
is.
I think you're always you get to be co-pilot with God, and you're always getting what you asked for. You might not have known that you were asking for it or how you asked for it,
Yeah.
but essentially everything that's happening to you,
We're doing exactly what we
you were
want to
asking
do.
for that in some way, shape, or form.
And that's a hard thing to accept when your life is shit.
Yeah.
But it's true, is God is doing this on purpose, and we are all God. So the version of God that is you, is just choosing to live that existence until it doesn't, until it changes its mind and doesn't do that.
Yeah.
And there's no good choice. The grass is always greener.
Well,
if you're in Nirvana, you want to carnate and
be
become a human and have limitations.
Well, yeah, I feel like we're Mario and we get really attached to the Mushroom Kingdom, and it's really just somebody behind us with a controller, and like there's just a connection, and we're being piloted by something.
But we're being piloted by ourselves.
Yeah,
That's
but what is
you.
that? What is that self, and where
That
is it
thing
at?
is God, and it's everything.
But what if it's like what if we're in the screen right now and that thing is outside the screen sitting in our living room right now? You know what I mean?
Well, it's levels. So what I would say to that is whatever's controlling that thing is God.
Yeah,
You just nest it.
I would say the game itself is made by God, and also that game would exist.
And also the thing itself,
levels.
this table is God.
Yeah.
It's all one thing doing a thing.
Yeah,
it's not even creating, it's just doing a thing.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's like a show.
And I would rather be me than be that. And but that thing is gonna go, I want to be things, you know? And it's never ending, and that's probably all it's ever gonna be. And that's where like this battle of good and evil exists, and it's existed before there have been people. But we're a version of this battle going on. And the Buddhists are like, don't participate, just be neutral, because when you swing this way, it's going to swing back the other way.
For sure. That's hermetic.
But you can also just like, I choose to suffer and struggle. I choose to be on this side very firmly. And just with the understanding that there's going to be an equal and opposite reaction to you. That there's going to be, if you choose to be good, there's going to be, and it might be you, but there is going to be an equal evil. So you're not really doing anything. You're just playing the character, going through the motions of it.
Yeah. I think about that yesterday. Just for every, it's like, I think for every like super nice person that you meet, like they have an equal degree of something else on the other side, like hidden, and it's like
That's for every
shadow. For every like really like smart genius that you meet, they have something that they're probably so terrible at that if you saw them only doing that thing, you would think that they're the opposite of a genius.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like I think for every this, that is completely equal. You know what I mean?
Someone's smart. Everyone's smart at something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're probably equally as dumb at something else, you know, and it just, I don't know. It's a weird way of thinking about it.
All the greatest artists I know are some of the worst people I've met.
Yeah.
Like straight up. Like some of the absolute, like some people whose art I've just been like, this is fucking incredible. This is really good. Then I find out it's like, oh, you're a fucking nutball.
You're a serial killer.
You are. Of course you are. Like, duh. Yeah. Of course. It's at this point, it's almost like I was expecting that. So moving on.
I also wonder, like in the music business, how much I definitely think the occult plays a huge role, but I just wonder like how deep it is and how deep that knowledge goes, where anybody can get the books and anybody can read into it and like figure it out, or anybody can make their own contact. You know what I mean? But I would imagine there's probably somewhere there's people that are in connection with each other that have studied and read up for generations and generations and sort of held, like it's like a lot of people say it's like Freemasons and shit like that, but I think that there's probably more to it of like, I think there's probably a fucking Hogwarts like underground or some shit, dude. I'm a wizard, honestly.
A lot of people feel
yeah, you're definitely a wizard.
Yeah, Cody's a wizard too, whether he knows it or not.
A lot of people feel that coming back to like the proto-civilization too, like when you look at the earliest known historic, like the Mesopotamians, like you look through that culture and the schools of magic and all the Tower of Babel shit all comes from that culture.
Yeah.
And a lot of people believe that a lot of the secret societies of the modern era are all just descendants of that.
And Freemasons come from the Knights Templar, comes from Solomon's
top,
Masons.
The whole line down. Everybody, it gets a new name every few hundred years, but it's believed to be the same people. And it's interesting because it's like, what knowledge are they protecting? Who knows, who has this, and what exactly is that knowledge? Is that knowledge a better understanding of those that came before?
I know part of it is
what does it mean?
Part of it is the Old Testament.
Yeah, for sure. Most of it.
That's the fucking thing.
Well, the Christians and Muslims and the Jews all together are like all about that. And
that shit was written by aliens.
So what I was just thinking about like earlier today was when you talk about like the forbidden fruit and the tree of knowledge and like the book of Genesis. Is the book telling you that the fruit was wrong, or is the book telling you that this figure called God in this book is trying to stop you from obtaining this knowledge? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it actually telling you like these are the characters? I think it's more specifically in the book of Genesis.
It's allegorical.
Well, just more so, like, look at the story, it's like the snake is like, this is what's going to happen when you eat the fruit. And then Eve is like, well, this is what God said was going to happen. If you look at the originally translation of, I mean, you probably can get the original, but there's so many retranslations of Genesis that when you go back, it goes to everything that you're talking about, like Enuma Elish, which was the Mesopotamian Sumerian tablets. All of that basically says what you were talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's all older than the Old Testament.
Yeah.
It's all Mesopotamian tablets.
And the book of Genesis is basically just all of those tablets, but they sort of weed it out. It's like fucking, the tablets are like Star Wars. And then they cut out all the character development and just said, this is this guy, this is this guy, this guy's God, this guy's the snake that's evil. But then when you go back and you read the tablets, it's like, oh, there's so many backstories behind it, and you see all the like,
there's so much
lore,
deepest lore.
Yeah. And that kind of when I read about that, it really painted a lot of why everything is the way that it is, and it really just reaffirmed my beliefs, um not in necessarily like demons and angels or a devil and God, but more like everything's sort of upside down to the point where it seems like wrong is right and right is wrong in this world. And I feel like that can only mean that it's so obvious. It's like all the problems with the world that society can agree on are so obvious. So why? It's like all these people are like, oh, I want to change this and I want to change that. And it's like, why do we have to change that? Why is that even a thing? That's where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? It's like, what can I do? You look in history and it's like people have always done all the atrocities. If anything, a lot of the atrocities that people are like freaked out about now were way worse like 2,000 years ago.
Way worse.
And
fucking way worse 50 years ago.
We have it the best out of everything in our history books, technically. But we find all these like these crazy things that are wrong with society, and it's like where I'm standing is like fucking duh. Why are we even like that in the first place? So there's got to be a reason.
It's because we're not choosing to make it that way.
I think so, but it's just too obvious for me that it would just happen like this. Like, how did it come to
It's
this?
not a fucking coincidence.
Naturally, exactly. So like something had to happen, and I think when you look into it, you kind of everybody's probably been done that. To me, a lot of conspiracy theories are now common knowledge. A lot of what like 10 years ago, what was called a conspiracy theory is now just some shit at like 9/11 and a lot of that shit, like JFK, like a lot of that is just like,
well, if we can, I think it is extraterrestrial and interdimensional, but we don't even have to take it that far, right? We are being controlled.
Yeah,
we are. Everyone knows it. We're being controlled
by people who know about that shit.
By this thing, and people will go, oh, well, they're people. No, they're fucking not.
Yeah.
People don't do that.
I feel like we're cattle.
People are good.
I feel like the way that we look at chickens and cows and pigs is the way that those people look at us.
Yeah.
We think we're the top of the food chain, but there's something higher than us on the food chain. And it might be aliens, but the first level above us is fucking rich people, dude. It's like we are their cattle, and there's probably something else where all of us are their cattle, even the billionaires. But the billionaires or the people that have obtained the knowledge and actually like the fucking basement in the Vatican, you know what I mean? They have to have a connection with whatever's really real from the heavens or from the other side or whatever it may be through the eye of a needle. You know what I mean?
The real question is like someone, like you said, someone in the system knows the next step up. Someone knows, but like at that point, do you think those people are really any different than the rest of us to the next step up? Know. Or are we all just fucking
maybe? The thing is, I don't know. It's beyond me, so I don't know.
We all know. Everybody knows that there's aliens. Everybody knows that there's fucking
I feel demons. Like it's undeniable now.
It's right in front of everyone's faces, so they don't have to hide anything.
I think another interesting thing is that angels and demons are classified by whether they're still in heaven or they're on earth. An angel on earth is a fallen angel, therefore it's a demon. In a lot of traditional perception of looking at something like that. It's the duality. Those are Christian vocab terms. You know what I mean? Yeah, so angels are good, demons are bad. Well, what are demons? Oh, those are the angels that fell to earth or came to earth. You know what I mean? So it's like, did they change? Did they like cut their, because we always depict them as they look just like people. Obviously, that's what we would do. And then we put fucking halos and wings on them. And then whenever they decided that they disagreed with God, now all of a sudden they're red and they have horns and tails and a pitchfork, and it's like, the fuck is that? So I think that it's basically saying the angels or the aliens or whatever are probably not allowed to come here, and therefore by coming here they have demonized themselves because they're breaking the law. Prometheus, like you said, they are going outside of what's allowed among the Galactic Federation or whatever, know. And
okay,
so we because we are operated by the Empire, if you will, the Jedi, and I think this is all potential shit.
The fucking cops.
Yeah, I think
Jedi are cops, aren't they?
Well, no, I'm just saying that the Jedi, Jedi would be. That's not what I was saying. They would be more of like the rebel force that is going against anyone who goes against the shit, you know what I mean? They get demonized. Something bad happens, you know what I mean? I would say that. Damn, actually, I'm pretty high. I forgot what we were talking about. I'm pretty deep in it.
No, I see what you're saying. Demons are a word for aliens that come here
but
when
not
you're not
always.
supposed to do that. And sometimes they don't do it just because they want to take advantage of it. Sometimes they do it because they want to teach people things and they want to help them.
Yeah, I think that the word demon can apply to something that really is a demon, that people have demons and it drags them down and it fucking hurts them. You know what I mean? But I also think that the word demon in our society,
not the best
smart, rich people have figured out that that word can seal the majority of society away from anything. You can use demon, Satanist, or devil, or demonic and place it as a sticker on any school of thought or philosophy or religion, and people will treat it like the word terrorist,
hands off,
or anything of that sort. You know what I'm saying? And I do think that there is shit that's definitely satanic and definitely demonic. But I also think that there's heavenly things that humans are supposed to know about, and those things are being practiced and observed by the people in power, and in order to obtain their superiority and maintain their superiority, they're making sure we don't find out about the things that could empower us. You know what I'm saying? So they use those terms to get us to not touch any of it. You know what I mean? And when someone does such like something like this, everyone thinks that this is like evil. You know what I'm saying? And it's like our whole society is just so far from understanding the supernatural forces to the point where we call it hippie shit or drug culture or psychedelia. When in reality, it's it's a bigger,
because you don't want to believe that's
but it's a bigger reality than what our reality is. So it's like, I think that there's a certain level of a lot of the things that we're told not to do because God doesn't want us to do those things. All the preachers, all the the fathers, the high council, and the
Vatican does
and all
high
that.
level magic.
They're doing all the magic, and they're doing all the people in charge telling us what's right.
Do you see the Lucci thing? The little anime girl they did. Have you seen this, Cody? Oh, yeah. Will you please pull up a picture of it?
Yeah.
So the Pope showed this little chibi anime character during a speech, and he's like, "This is Lucci. She's our mascot, and her name's Lucci."
To modernize the Catholic Church.
He's like, we want to appeal to the kids.
We have a chibi anime fucking mascot for the Catholic Church now.
Yes.
Wow. How did I not hear about this?
But wait, Billy Mays here with OxyClean. There's more. If you order now, her name is Lucci, which means light bringer.
Whoa. Like Lucy.
LOCE.
Yeah.
Where do you see her picture?
It's short for Lucifer.
Yeah. For sure.
Wait, yeah.
He's illuminating. He's which.
That's what it's always been about.
Morning Star.
First off, that's what it's always been about.
I'm all about Prometheus.
That's what it was always about, and no one knows.
But it's funny that he can just do that, and that's the beauty of it, is putting it right in front of everybody.
Yeah,
and it's a she.
And then
just letting them know
it's a girl.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't believe you guys haven't heard about this.
She's wearing a rosary, which is actually
she's an anime character.
Can you get
Jesus? She's holding a staff.
Get the picture of
what's
him
that staff
presenting
mean?
It too.
It's a fork staff, also.
Yeah, what is that staff all about? That's gotta mean something.
That's for 2 dildos at once.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's wild.
Have you guys seen any of the conspiracy of the architecture where
the Vatican architecture?
No. So if you ever look around like downtown in any fucking city, there's always like government buildings or just random buildings somewhere where it's really, really it's just made you can tell it's made with like cymatics and like perfect shapes, and just all this beauty goes into it, and all this extra level thinking of like the proportions and the geometry of everything and the art of it. And at a certain point in history, dude, it just turned into like wood and boxes and houses in like really easy, practical ways. And there's like a clear, when you really look at it and you got to like look at pictures of it, there's a clear difference in that entire theory of architecture back then versus what we do now. Like we either for some reason lost all of it, or the theory is that it was never ours to begin with. And a lot of the shit you were saying earlier was something from before it existed, like a lot like the Parthenon. Somebody literally thinks that the Parthenon in Nashville isn't what's it called, where they're recreating it,
It's a replica.
a replica. So there's people that say that it's not a replica, it's real. It's fucking,
Whoa.
it's like whoever
What?
like whoever created it, they don't. So and then it goes into this thing called the World Fair, and it's like it was this event that they hosted, and they said that it was going to be such a cool festival. It was one festival in this city, and so they said that they were going to build big city, like big buildings and crazy architecture, whatever. And they basically, that's where history, in our history books, it says that all these buildings were made for the World Fair. Like if you go back to the Parthenon's one of them, there's a bunch anywhere you go, all these big Gothic church buildings, all these big government buildings, they're all around the end of the 1800s, early 1900s, and they all say that they were built for the World Fair. There's no pictures on Google of the construction other than like the very end of the process, with just like a wall of like, you know, where the workers can go up and shit.
Mhm.
But it's like the building's finished. And it's like you can't really find any proof that those were actually built in the 1900s. So I think that the theory would be that sometime in then there was a great reset where they just completely rewrote history and just told us completely something different. And all these buildings and all these architectures were just thrown into the World Fair concept.
I've heard that.
Wow,
before.
interesting. I've never heard that
That
one.
is
So
a-
next time
I've
you're
heard that.
driving, dude, just look at the architecture. Like look at the Freemason buildings, but go downtown and look at the big like Gothic castles with the fucking gargoyles and shit. And
yeah,
like
yeah.
where they go up, and it's like you can tell a lot of those are like when you see the videos of the cymatics and the way that sound affects and how it's like, damn, we probably built like maybe the pyramids or a lot of structures in wood and carvings and like stone, like monasteries and stuff. They look like they're built with sound. Once you see the cymatic frequency, like
Yep.
you know what I'm talking about? Once you see the
Yeah.
circles and then you see the architecture,
That's
it's
how
like,
they
okay,
moved
maybe
that
that's
shit,
how
too.
that was, yeah.
That's how they
The
transported
winners
it.
write history.
There's a
Remember that.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
theories based around using wave energy, which is sound and light and everything, because everything is a frequency and a vibration, and that a lot of these mass scale amazing feats of man throughout the world are forgotten devices.
Yeah.
that we don't know. That's the reason it wasn't just to look elaborate. It actually had a
It serves
purpose.
a
Yeah.
purpose.
One of the things with the World's Fair, though, a lot of the buildings that were built actually as buildings, that's one thing. The Parthenon here was originally, when it was built for the World's Fair, was built from mache. It wasn't even,
Oh yeah.
and they actually years later went and rebuilt it to make it solid that people could go in there and do it.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
a lot of the World's Fairs, they would do that, but it's like you're saying, a lot of the buildings and World's Fairs when they were happening were fucking crazy. I mean, Knoxville, their big giant dome, we call it the doorknob to
Yeah.
hell. It's fucking empty and worthless and
Yeah.
like a stand in the city. That was
yeah.
for the World's Fair.
and it doesn't have to be fucking aliens on everything, but it's like at a certain point, I think we just got so pragmatic that we were like, let's just build something that works. Maybe that's the other alternative answer to why that's
Right.
like
Why
that.
develop that
But it's
way.
like, at what point, if we got smarter and our technology got better, why? Like, it's clear once you really look at it and you see the way that the windows and like everything, all these big elaborate churches, they're in like every town.
Well,
everywhere.
it's like monoliths, period. Any large ancient structures, there's almost always unanswered questions in its construction.
yeah,
Like practically, like the practicality of all that we know about technology that we know, like that we know, parentheses, all that we know dictates that like every kind of simple machine that would be needed to create the fucking Great Pyramids, there's no goddamn way they could have been there.
yeah,
Like there's too many things. And we're going back to the Parthenon. People never bring up on the back of it the tetrastones. The stones that make up like the base of that building are like 62 tons a fucking piece. There is no fucking feat in that we know of in anywhere in that world that could move fucking stones that big.
Yeah.
What? Like
Yeah.
what? So it's hard not to instantly be like, there has to be an entire missing piece.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's the device, whether it's like a frequency thing, whatever it is, it's
Whether literally
aliens, whatever you said. It
us,
could be
yeah.
other things. It's hard to say what it is. It could be remnants of a certain kind of technology that we have completely lost
Graham
track
Hancock?
of. Yeah.
He's like getting canceled. You heard about this?
Like a lot of the anthropology like community.
Yeah, for saying that some site, those people they didn't have the technology to build that, and it was another civilization that crossed the sea that must have built it because it matches stuff they've got going on over there.
On another city, yeah.
But that's racist, apparently,
People
to
get
say
real
that,
upset
because you're
about-
saying that these people couldn't build it, so it must be
right.
It's like, no, there's no evidence that they had the.
Yeah.
But these people did the same
over here
shit.
did.
Yeah. It reminds me of, wait, you're saying people can't build that, Cody? You're saying aliens, but that's racist.
Exactly.
You're saying that
Yeah.
African people can't build pyramids? That's racist.
Is that what you're
dude.
insinuating?
That's fucking racist.
But the
It must be
pyramids
aliens
were
because
on the
they're
other
African.
side of Earth, like you said. Like they're in several places.
It's
What
a
about the
wild
ice wall?
thing.
That's another one. Ice wall.
That's a whole.
There's just dude. Vampires? What if aliens are fucking vampires?
I mean,
What if
energy vampires in a way?
The energy vampires are such a thing that I'm like, what if they're really? I mean, underground. That's another one. The underground cities and shit. It's like, damn, what if there really is like a certain degree of an underworld where people understand? It's like you hear about the fucking baby blood and shit, and it's like, dude, what if there's like a whole league of motherfuckers that just don't talk about it?
I just saw Rosemary's Baby.
I think a lot of all these things are connected.
Shit. Yeah.
At the fucking Melcourt. It was fucking. Have you seen that?
What?
Rosemary's Baby.
Oh no,
dude, it's 64, 60.
Something
but like it is a cult of people that are basically like genetically pulling these people together to create the Antichrist, and it's all about child sacrifice and shit in the 60s.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah,
it was a major thing when it came out. I remember my mother told me about it.
Because, dude, yeah, because that's
couldn't believe it.
That was acid. Acid came out, and everybody was like, "Holy shit, I'm Jesus!" And that's what happens. It's like step
holy
one.
Shit, I'm Jesus.
Step one is holy shit,
and
I'm
you're
Jesus.
right.
Step two is holy shit. Everybody eventually can realize
everyone is Jesus.
Everybody's Jesus.
Also, everyone is Satan. Also, Satan doesn't exist, and neither does Jesus. But we're all Jesus, and we're all Satan.
That's real. That's something.
I think that's why I think so many of these topics they go so hand in hand.
Yeah,
like inevitably the cosmos, the other realm, the third eye, all of these things are so like intimately connected that you can't have one conversation without having.
Have you ever had an experience? That's the real question. Have you ever had an experience of any sort of
sexual experience ever?
Are you experienced?
Like a paranormal experience or like more of an alien experience?
Anything to do with aliens besides the internet?
I've never had a personal alien experience, no. I wish, but I have not.
I've had two. I've had one of each.
Tell us about it.
So if you look this up in Kokomo, Indiana, where I'm from, when I was 16, I was chilling, dude, and it sounded like the trash truck was just dropping a dumpster, like a giant fucking dumpster. So I didn't think anything of it. But all of a sudden, my roommate and his mom, come out and they're like looking outside, and I get up off the thing. I walk outside, dude, and there's a ring of lights just like in a perfect circle. And we're all looking at like everybody's outside. Like everybody came out. It was an apartment complex. It was an apartment complex. And everybody's coming outside and looking at it, dude. And in the sky, there's this fucking this circle of lights that's just going around. And so we're like, holy shit, what was that? So we get in the van and we drive over to like that direction, and the cops have it blocked off. And no one was allowed like in this field. It was just this thing. And then they told everybody that like the local Air Force base was testing the sound barrier. And then like a couple years later, maybe not even a couple years, there was like a History Channel or like some sort of documentary on aliens in fucking Kokomo, dude. It's so real. I swear to God. Yeah. But I saw it.
You were one of the people that saw it.
I fucking saw that shit.
That's
dude.
fucking crazy.
I mean,
dude.
you can't just
That's
be
amazing.
like, like that circle of lights.
Yeah, it was too
That
it was
you
too
can't
perfect.
you can't just say like that was definitely aliens, but at the same time for them to just be like, oh no, it's just a standard protocol for it's like for
Yeah.
what do we have that's got a circle of lights in a perfect
They
circle?
don't have to
And it
shut
was
shit
like,
down to
yeah.
test the sound barrier.
You know what I'm
Jets
saying?
have been doing mock for years.
Years, right.
I've
They're
been
just
on the
making
heights
bullshit
in the
up.
mountains and had them go by us.
It
plus
was
the sound
big.
barrier.
It was like really loud, dude.
Yeah,
and
dude.
I was 16. I remember that shit. And
That's wild.
that was
I guarantee there's probably YouTube shit about it. Like you
no, there's
Kokomo,
definitely, dude. There's a
Indiana,
documentary.
YouTube.
There's like a fucking History
That's
Channel
awesome.
thing of like, yeah, I saw that shit.
That's
It's
killer,
crazy.
Dust.
Damn.
And then I don't know, man. It's kind of a weird thing to talk about on the podcast, but
Not this one.
I've definitely
Not
had,
this one, Alex says.
I've definitely had things that I saw in like a trip or just existing in my imagination that's how I wrote it off. And it's like you said, we're not as in tune as we could be. So we see things and we just register them as like schizophrenia or something like that. So we ignore a lot of things. We say, oh, that's just my imagination. But what if it's all whatever you were saying earlier? What if it's all everything?
What I'm saying is it's the wrong question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's bigger than is this inside your head or not?
Yeah. So I had something that I wrote off as inside my head for a really long time. And
Do you want to share with us?
I mean, it doesn't really matter because I think that that's just going to like people hearing about it would just go down the like it's not the right road. They're just going to go to Google and it's like it's not the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you don't know how people are going to respond. I know this.
Well, there's going to be certain people that might identify with it, but I think it's more so like
here's what's important, Dusty. Not how people respond to it, but what is true, what is reality.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if people hurt themselves with information.
Well, I mean,
that's their decision.
I don't really know, honestly. I just know that what I saw was something that I thought was like I was experiencing my ego. Maybe I was seeing myself. Maybe I was seeing something in my imagination. Maybe I was seeing like my dream idea me or like something, you know what I mean? But I saw a consistent character for years. And one day I got to hopping on the Google and just started like typing in recognizable features and it was a fucking thing. And multiple people were like, this is what he looks like, this is how it feels, this is what it is. And that
you
for
described
me,
it without even saying the name. I said it, and you're like, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What name?
You're talking about the Hat Man.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
no, because you told me about it.
But
and
there's two
you didn't even say
ones,
Hat Man.
dude.
You're just telling me. I'm like, yeah, the Hat Man.
People see that shit, and I think it could be Odin or it could be Papa Legba. I thought that it was, from what I understand, is I would say it's Legba. So for when I look at that, it's like if that's real, how real is it? Is it what we were talking about, where that's a real thing that exists in another place that we can perceive? Or what if it goes to like it's part of the archetype of the brain where that's just a character that humans meet in the human experience in the same way that we see a lot of like religious symbolism in our dreams that we might have never seen before. Some of the things that we see in our dreams are like if you really close your eyes and relax, you'll start seeing shapes and certain colors and stuff. A lot of people are seeing and experiencing the same other reality. Like they're experiencing the same things in their trips, they're experiencing the same things. So it's like, what if the brain already has that like as part of its script and you're just seeing the interior mechanism? So what if these interdimensional beings that we're all agreeing that we saw and we all experienced, what if none of that's even real? It's all just part of the human
I think the
programming.
Is,
or what if it's real on the outside?
The answer is both.
Both.
It's
yeah,
a
right.
handshake.
Yeah, it's like a portal.
That concept exists in your head, which is what gives you a connection. It's your
There's a lot of things that could be real in your head, but it's that thing.
It connects them.
Yeah.
You can't interact with it without it being a concept that you have.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, from my experience, it's really hard because we live in America, and just the way that all of that culture has been perceived is like most of the shit you're going to find about a lot of it is they tried to go to the dark, right? They try to say like it's this and it's this and it's that, and it's like that wasn't necessarily my experience, but at the same time I wonder if it was and I wasn't perceiving it because it's so outside of myself. I definitely haven't experienced it in Actually, I don't know. It's a thing. It's still. I think that
it's also
when we look at
it's
good,
also
it
not real.
goes right
That's
back to
kind
what
of the
you're
point.
saying.
It's
Goes
not
back to
real.
what you're saying about like sort of good and evil. I like to zoom out because good and evil to an individual person is really based off their will to receive versus their will to give, you know, and whatever they decide is good for them or bad for them is based on what they want. So it's like to truly perceive good and evil, you got to get outside of your emotions, you got to get out of everything. And then you look at a lot of these spirits from ancient religions, and they don't necessarily abide, like Greek gods are the first easiest example. They don't necessarily abide by human ethics and morals. They're both good and bad. They provide in the way that you would say that a god provides, but a lot of them act up the way that you could describe as a demon. You know what I mean? So you kind of see that this thing has power that is outside of what we think. And my experience with this thing, honestly, is that typically something bad happens to such an extreme that it seemed like a crazy bad thing at the time. But as I let go of myself, I see that it was a huge, like, ferocious tectonic movement in like the plates of my subconscious. And it was just fucking changing everything. And it was setting it created this disaster explosion in my life to bring me to this whole new thing that I didn't know that I needed. You know what I mean? And he essentially gives you what you want for the price of you're fucked. And that could, there's no line, dude. You could die. Like it's not good. There's no, as a human, you can't control it. You know what I mean? You
I know
can't.
what you're saying.
So it's like, it's just so much bigger than us that if you're one of those people that's like, oh, you know, I love fucking demons and metal and it's like, I think that shit looks cool and it's like, it's awesome in art and I love the music and everything, but I think that it really is so outside of what we're capable of handling that it is dangerous. Not even because it's evil. It's like a dog,
but
dude.
You are fucking with powers like, you don't understand.
Well, look at like something like the Hounds of Hell, and then just look at a regular fucking dog. They're gonna run up to you and lick you and maybe bite you. And like, imagine what something from way outside, like humans versus dogs is one thing, but humans versus a beast from the other side, it's like he might not be evil. He might be a puppy on fucking Neptune or some shit. You know what I mean? But like over here, with the way that we would perceive it, it's not going to register with our senses. So either way, it's all going to be evil. It's all going to be evil because we can't control it and we can't identify it. We don't know what color it is, so it's dark. It's darkness. It's shadows. It's black. We can't see the light in it because we don't fucking understand it. We can't comprehend it with our senses. You know what I mean?
In my experience too, it's kind of like, it's less like it's alive and more like a program. What I mean by that is it responds a certain way.
Yeah.
If you get a hold of one of these thought forms, it is like a machine. It is going to interact the same way.
Mm-hmm.
It's very consistent in the way it operates.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's a program. It's not really alive as much as it's, I don't know. Consciousness is, I don't know what that is either. So it's hard to compare.
Stands before me. I don't know. I thought about that from the get-go. Like that, everything we're talking about was the inspiration behind Black Sabbath. Like you understand that?
Yeah.
Like the story goes.
First band name was
Earth. That was their name in '69, and then Geezer had an LSD or a drug experience. I don't know if it's ever referenced to the LSD. It might be. Had an experience in bed. He woke up and there was an entity at the end of his bed that was like in his room, and he said he felt fucking everything like froze. It was like he said he woke up and it was the most terrifying moment of his life, and it was just this black figure that like looked at him. And if you listen to the song, they changed the band name from Earth to Black Sabbath because Geezer wrote Black Sabbath about that incident.
Wow.
That's why if you listen to the words, what is this that stands before me?
When you see
figure in black that points at me. It's all about like them waking up in the middle of the night and being fucking approached by this entity. And then they're like, let's fucking, this is the end, my friend. There's the first 4 Black Sabbath albums are some of the only things in the world you can trust. Like, because they're about This shit. Honestly,
Interesting.
all that
I didn't know
early
that.
Sabbath shit is about all this stuff.
I didn't know Sabbath was on that shit.
Yeah, man. They were, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really just like in the same way that like a lot of people say Jimmy Page was kind of like the occult guy in Zeppelin. I think Geezer, I mean, he was the lyricist for a lot of the songs, I'm pretty sure, at least in the early days from what I've heard. And I think he was definitely like the one who was like, yo, you guys should read into this shit. But they were definitely into some like Crowley type of like darker.
I know Jimmy Page bought
his house.
It wasn't, yeah. So the thing is, it was Crowley's house, but he didn't live there. He bought it to perform the Abramelin, which is the 6-month ritual that he failed to complete. But he didn't live there. So Jimmy Page got not even a place he lived, but the
ritual
house that he wasn't able, that Crowley pussied out of.
Yeah, so basically he opened up some cans and some
said, "I'm
worms,
out
and
of
I
here.
said, "I'm getting the fuck out of here." And Paige was like, "Let me go live there."
I want that.
Yeah. Fucking God, dude. Ugh.
Have you seen The Hat Man?
No, I'm familiar with the concept though. When you started describing it, I'm like, I mean,
That happened to me though.
I've heard other
waking up-
people talk about it. Because I like ask everyone about ghost stories. And the Hat Man's come up a couple of times with like sleep paralysis.
I've been in the room with other people and they've seen him too at the same
Really?
time as me.
At the same time as you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
No, it was real as fuck. It's like I'll listen to anything. I'll watch any conspiracy video, whatever the fuck.
You're open
I
to all.
don't jump into it, like I don't run after it, but it's like I'll listen to fucking flat earth shit. Like I don't whatever the fuck, man. But I don't attach myself to anything and I don't let it affect my emotions and I just don't fucking care. Like aliens, dope shit to talk about. There's a million different directions we can go in. I kind of don't give a fuck because it's not right in front of me. And so I'm not going to like insist upon people that it's real because I don't know. This definitely happened. Definitely saw it several times. Other people were with me, saw it with me. I could go way deeper. Like it's real as fuck and it's been real as fuck and it's been in and out of my life. And
yeah,
this
it's not
big one for you.
It's not of this world. And I can't tell if it's right or wrong. And I think it goes right back to everything that you're saying is like, it just is.
It is.
It's big. It's bigger than what I think is right and wrong in it. I think it's fucked my life up a couple times. And it's also the only reason, it's not the only reason, but it's a huge reason for a lot of things that I love.
So here's the thing, man, is like either consciously or subconsciously, you are attracting energies that you have the control. But the thing is, your subconscious is stronger than, and I'm not saying you, like the human being subconscious is stronger than the conscious. So you control everything, but you're not at the wheel. You're like drunk driving. You're like you're not actually in control, although you are steering it. So you have to get control of yourself so you can control reality.
I've been asking myself for a long time, like why it's a fucking African voodoo god. I'm a white guy in America. What the fuck's going on? So I start thinking about it and I go back home and I realize, and this might not have anything to do with it, but it's really hilarious to talk about. When I was growing up, my dad was a musician, so he was traveling around all the time. Sometimes I would go to work with him and we would go to the music store. But my mom, for 16 years of my life, was the only white lady at a company that was owned by Haitian immigrants that were indentured servants in Florida. And once they turned 18, they were granted their citizenship and moved up to Indiana and started Right Quality Office Supplies. And dude just started balling out and figured it out. You know what I mean? And those people, I mean, they got us Christmas dinner every year. He would buy me a Christmas present.
Family. Okay.
He was like, like I said, like my dad was there playing music, and as a musician now, it's like he was there technically just as much, but like physically he just wasn't there a lot. You know what I mean? Right. So I was around fucking Haitian immigrants for like the first 16 years of my life all the time.
Yeah.
And I never thought anything of it. And then now I'm looking back, now that that's like a distant memory, and with the Hat Man thing and everything, looking into it and seeing where it comes from. It comes from Dahomey, Africa, and Haiti, and all these things.
So
And it's like,
you feel these connections very
and
prominently.
so I'm like, what if it followed me from when I was a kid? Because dude, I would go to work with my mom and I would just chill and like draw pictures and stuff in the office, and I would just see the things on their wall. We would go to their events. We would go to their church.
Right, you're
We
integrated
would
into the
go-
culture a little bit. 'cause your mom
I
was
mean,
so
they were
close.
Christian. They were Christian
Yeah.
Americans,
Well,
dude. They were not like it wasn't
Half
like when
of
Trump.
Cajun is Christianity,
Well,
baby.
you know, like Trump was talking about, like they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs, and it's like that's definitely a Haitian like ancient thing that's super real. But these people were definitely like American Christian, like stand up business owning people. You know what I mean? So we were around them, and I mean they had the accent like super thick,
Right.
and I just grew up with that, and I just never knew that was going to be a thing until the fucking internet came out and everybody starts talking about appropriation and this skin color owns this and these guys own that. And it's like, I just grew up around that, not realizing that the internet was going to be a thing and people were going to get all pissed off. But like, I think that could have maybe been the root of it all. You know what I mean?
Well, I think it's a lot like Alex said earlier too. You could have been. It could have been a time and place kind of thing where you were susceptible to it, Dustin,
Yeah.
and that's what it was. It found you as much as you found it, and it could be a thing where it's like, well, there's hello, just like any other fucking entity.
I
connects to
loved
somebody.
every part of it.
Yeah.
It can connect to you,
But
really
I
hard.
lost a lot of shit over the years because of it. But the fact that I loved it so much makes me think that I lose anything.
What makes you like explain what you mean by lost a lot of shit? Like
Anytime that I would ever like I wouldn't a lot of people see this shit and they think that like, oh, you shake hands with this thing and like you make a deal with this thing or you pray to it or you worship it. And dude, I would literally just be like, I think it's so cool that I'm like a regular person and we live in this boring life and like an African voodoo spirit just came to like see what's up. He just came to my bedroom. Like that's kind of tight. You know what I mean?
does he
So it's
always
like,
take on the same?
it's always the same
appearance?
shit, dude. It's always the same shit, and it's the same thing that other people have said on the internet they see. But there's a lot of people that are like, he's a villain, he's bad, he did this, and they're scared of it. I just he looks like he came out of a back alley, and he's got what you want. He's like, hey, buddy, you want
Right.
this?
He's kind of sleazy.
And but it's like when you look him in the eye and you kind of like you accept his sleaze, it's like maybe you're not evil, maybe you're just beyond my fucking comprehension. But because of that, you're gonna get good and bad.
Yeah,
You know
you
what I'm
are the
saying?
entity.
It's really
The
not
duality of it all.
it's not worth it. I just loved feeling like I was in a fucking movie and
You were in a scene.
just
You're in
to
a
be
scene of
able to
movie.
see
That's
that
my
Harry
thing too,
it's like
man, is the
it's like
curiosity.
fucking,
There's nothing else to do.
yeah.
This is the most interesting thing.
I
you
feel
can
like a
do.
wizard, bro. Like I feel like I'm fucking Harry Potter. I'm out here like hanging out with African voodoo gods. Shit is just like, what the
That's
fuck is
how-
that? How did that happen?
Man, yeah.
So, but because of that, it becomes this
It's
thing that I'm
curiosity.
like, okay, well, that's better than sitting in my room doing nothing. I
Yeah.
would rather hang out with this
Even if it's dangerous, what else are you
otherworldly
gonna do? Have a
alien.
boring life?
Yeah,
Like, that was my thing too. Yeah.
there's just, I mean, there's so much to it, and it's not necessarily anything that I've given to. Anytime I've ever communicated with it, it's just like, I appreciate your presence, and I appreciate just feeling like I'm fucking like Danny Phantom or something.
It's
Like
not like you're
I
striking
get to
deals.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like I enjoy like looking over my shoulder and seeing an alien from another planet in my life, like following me around. I know that's fucking weird, but like it doesn't
Not weird
necessarily
here, man.
bother me. So it's like I'll invite it, and I won't say necessarily, yeah, I'll invite it, and it's that simple. And it's just like I don't necessarily want anything from you. I just want your presence. And the way that the presence works is the fucking portal opens up and some shit goes down, and you're like, what the fuck is happening? And then because of that, you got to go do this thing and call these people and do that and do that. And the process of conquering this crazy obstacle that's happening, every single thing that he knew that you wanted at the time, it's literally so similar to like God's will or praying to God. It's like when God gives you what you want, he doesn't give you what you want, how you want it. He just gives it to you. You get what you pray for. It goes right back to what we were
It's
saying.
path
You get
of
what you
least
wish for.
resistance.
Yeah, you get what you wish for. You get what you ask for, what you pray for, and the way that you get it isn't necessarily fucking sunshine and butterflies. You know what I mean? And so anytime I've had an experience with this, it's like I don't get what I want, my life gets fucked and everything dies. And then out of that, everything that I want comes out of it. And it's not necessarily a positive way to achieve it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I also think I am still a freshman at Hogwarts, and maybe there's people who do understand it.
Okay, so it's intention. It is worth it if it's a good enough goal.
It's never been like I want to cast a spell and I want to. It's always just been like, man.
What? Okay, but
like honestly, I think it had a lot to do with some recent shit that happened in my life. Like I was out loud saying I want a different life, and I got a fucking different life all at once. It was crazy, and I think that could have been God. That could have been literally anything. But the way that it happened was pretty destructive, and I could totally see it being my little imaginary friend. You know what I mean? But that goes into the placebo effect, and it goes into the fucking all the subconscious shit that we were talking about, and you know.
I love to put it on the micro scale too. You can sacrifice your time to further your career.
Yeah.
And that is the same thing as like allowing this thing into your life.
Yeah.
That shakes it up and creates something new out of it. It's the same stuff. You can't like what catches people on this stuff is that we can talk about it without magical terms.
Yeah.
We can say, just for argument, that was a manifestation of your imagination that led you to make decisions that at the time seemed bad.
Yeah.
But like, because we can explain this without these terms, that it confuses people.
Yeah.
But that way of talking about it is equally as true as doing it the psychological way. It's all just words. It's all just this flawed tool we're using to try and explain this thing that is beyond comprehension.
Do you ever get into Kabbalah? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
That goes into the will to receive and the will to give, and it's like it kind of also I would branch that into like the John Frusciante, his idea was just that music comes from a place and we're like radio signals and we pick it up, you know what I mean? And you're talking about like the schizophrenia thing, and it's like a lot of those are their radios are, first off, they don't even know that they're a radio. That's the first problem. But a lot of them are they're picking up signals that maybe shouldn't be picking up. They have some sort of weird frequency sensitivity where they are hearing voices. They are hearing things that do exist in somewhere else, that the fact that they're hearing them and no one else is, that's where the schizophrenia gets thrown as a little sticker. You know what I mean?
There's an old theory about, or one of the old original theories about schizophrenia, that it is possibly man trying to evolve again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just outside.
It's broken because that's why we look at it as a mental illness.
That's the thing about spirituality versus science, and some of it's similar, but a lot of it's different because science is something that everyone can agree on is an observable truth that everyone can see. You can see it from where you're sitting, and I can see it from where I'm sitting. But spirituality is what is true to the individual a lot of times. And there are constants, like there's certain religions, like Jesus is a great example of like a constant truth that everyone has said that they have experience with, that they've observed. But most spirituality is so particular to the individual that it's very easy to go down that road and look schizophrenic because you're the only one seeing it the way that you're seeing it. So your communication is just never going to work.
Science is the agreed upon religion.
Yeah, it's all happening outside of the perceivable text. Like it's hard to put into words for so many people that we can't, so we just sound crazy.
So well put, Alex. That's so well put. Like, that's amazing.
It's the original religion that everyone has faith in.
Yeah. It's the agreed upon religion.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
But it's also not internal.
It's the agreed upon.
It's external. Science is external, whereas spirituality is internal.
We talked about objective
religion by
before,
definition isn't what we call religion. By definition isn't these things that we do. Religion by definition is a daily practice that doesn't benefit you physically.
That's like
animals don't have religion because they only use their energy.
That's
for instincts. Yeah, instinctually.
They won't they won't use energy unless it's to gain something.
So,
they won't waste energy.
Fight, fuck, eat, and sleep, baby.
Right.
Let's go.
We waste all kind of energy all day long
Doing all kinds of
doing all
things.
kind of bullshit that we don't need to do.
and Dusty was talking about like you can get stuff from this by having this thing in your life, but it's not really a good way of achieving it. Like
There's just something bigger and better. Like the one true God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what I'm saying is it's what you're getting, the thing that's helping you is based on your intention. So if what you want is worth it. Like example, Jesus, what he wants is to save the world, but it's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Yes. So it's the goal has to be pure, and then the thing becomes worth it because the thing you're trying to do is good. So is it worth it? Like Faust, like the opposite of Jesus. Like I'm going to, you guys know the story of Faust, Dr. Faustus? Okay, so there was a German play. This is where the idea of signing a contract in blood comes from. There's an old German play. This guy's a surgeon. He's like this badass doctor that knows everything about surgery and medicine. And it's not enough. Like he learns everything and he's like, I need more. So his friend gets him into the occult, and then he takes it way further than his friend and summons this demon Mephistopheles. And Mephistopheles tells him, I'll give you magic, but it's going to cost you your eternal life. You're gonna go to hell. And yeah, exactly.
Odin traded his eye for all of the knowledge in the world.
On the Yggdrasil tree, yeah. And the contract also, like, his life is cut in short, cut in half.
The thing about Jesus and Prometheus both is that they paid the price. They gave us something, and then they took the punishment for it. So they both, you could say, did a ritual that achieved results, but rather than us get the results and have to pay the price, we got the results and they paid the price. Whereas Prometheus, he gave us the fire, and so he was banished to Hades, where eagles were just eating his stomach for eternity. You know
what I'm saying is,
liver out and let it regrow.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if you're not doing that kind of magic, then it is not worth it. Unless you're trying to save the world and make everything better, then what are you giving up everything
and for? That boils down to what the shaman's for, because our world is the giant world now because of the internet. But really, our world is supposed to be.
Yeah, it's your hometown, dude.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah, it is tribal. We're still tribal creatures.
Absolutely.
We're tribal creatures with a phone in our hand.
One of our big problems.
The entire concept is we're never supposed to grasp everything on the scale.
That's the forbidden fruit.
That's the forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to know that many people.
Yeah, it's the Tower of Babel.
To be honest,
but I don't know, man. I mean, I see both sides. Like, it goes back to like the Tower of Babel and the forbidden fruit. It's like, is this bad, or are we not supposed to have it because we're supposed to be slaves?
It just is,
and that plagues me all the fucking time. It's just telling you
that's what
you get to choose. I think
that is what happens.
It's the natural order of things.
We get to choose, but that's still what happens. Yeah. It's like language separates, we divide, we get so close, we're so close. And then a fucking tower collapses in 2001. And then everything, wait a minute, we were so good. What the fuck happened? Everything is wrong now. We're degrading. We're going down the mountain. We're tumbling down the mountain now.
By the basic standard of life.
That's got a lot to do with the banks. I'll just sneak that in there.
Nature has to shape what goes on. Because no matter what, when you go back to when tribal religions were becoming what we know as a religion, things were based directly from nature.
Yeah, like music too.
Yeah, because we only had that to teach us.
Yeah.
We only had that ability to look at how do the animals do these
So
things.
we personified it.
And we did. And then once fire became a thing, then we realized we had the upper hand.
Yeah.
The problem then is we got greedy.
Wrong people got the fire. That's what always happens.
It became the idea of, I know how to build a fire. Y'all don't know how to build the fire.
Yeah, fire's bad. You can't have it.
Right. I need to keep this.
Fire's
because I'm
bad.
the
You
one that
can't do
knows how to
anything with
control it. Y'all come to me for it.
And so, and it's the same thing. It happened all again. Zeus took it back
Yep.
through us. It's not even Zeus anymore. It's our leaders are trying to be like Zeus and take the fire back, and they're trying to keep
It's
it
like
for
Animal
themselves.
Farm. The
make
pigs
sure we
start
don't
running
have
the
it.
That
farm,
goes into-
and they're worse than the
Yeah.
humans.
Yep.
It's like we're gonna liberate it, and that not only do they become exactly like the humans, they get worse than
The
their
worst thing is
original
it proves the
masters.
point. It proves the point that Zeus hypothetically was trying to make in keeping the fire from us, because the wrong people got it and fucked it up. And that makes all the right people that could have used the
It's a
fire for
domino.
good things, it makes them look stupid because they're humans too. So it's like Zeus gets to be in his character, in his role. I told you so. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like, I told you this. And that's the same thing with the forbidden fruit. I think the forbidden fruit was such a good thing for humanity, but the wrong people got a hold of it, and we don't know what to do with it, and we're just misguided, and so we fell and we died. And so the snake told the short-term truth, but God told the long-term truth, in that we will see when we eat the fruit. You will see the other side. You will see reality and self-awareness, and see that the eye is watching me and all these crazy fucking things. But humans don't know what to do with it, and so we get fucked and we sin, and it creates death. And God was right the whole time. Don't eat the fruit. But you can see how you could spiral back and be like, well, what if you eat the fruit right? But we're humans, and it's like I just keep going back on my head, and it's sometimes it's tough for me to make a decision, because I see both sides so perfectly clearly that I feel like I'm just like a referee rather than
I know where
I'm watching
stand.
Discovery Channel. When it comes to like the war between angels and demons, I'm seeing Yankees and Confederates, or North Korea and South Korea, and I'm just trying to like watch more so than like let it affect me necessarily, which I don't think you can control that. But I guess rather than taking sides, I'm kind of just watching and seeing it
You're
from an
participating.
unbiased.
No, you're definitely participating.
I
Like,
think
the art you make is participation.
But I think
in
in
this
participating,
thing that's
like
going
we
on.
all do both. I think everyone participates,
And we
and
all
does
watch
both.
too, yeah.
Yeah, we all watch and we all do both. But a lot of people, they take sides in their culture. They say, well, I'm a Christian and I like the angels. But they right after church, they go to fucking Golden Corral and they eat themselves into a food coma. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like they got it just like everybody else does. And you got metalheads over here who are like, oh, hail Satan and shit. But it's like some of those dudes are the nicest, fucking most genuine people. So it's like you can't really say that anybody's on one specific side.
The side I'm on is knowledge and freedom, even if people are going to destroy the world with it. It's not up to me or anyone else to tell them what they can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I'm also a humanist, so I think they'll do something good with it ultimately. I think
Yeah.
good wins.
Yeah.
I have faith in
Did you ever watch
the
Dark Crystal?
humanity. No, man, I started the movie after you told me about it,
Dude.
and I haven't finished
The movie's
it.
All
alright. The movie's
of
alright.
all the movies to mention.
Dude, yeah, right.
Of
So
all the fucking movies. to
so
mention.
some shit went down, and it's funny. I have like I don't know what to call it, like a priestess guru figure who's just like sort of a motherly age, but she is sort of like a spiritual guide, you know what I'm saying? And she just told me like you should tell music to fuck off for a couple of days and just like get lost in cinema and like art and shit and just like go to this other world. So she had told me to watch The Labyrinth with David Bowie. That
And
was
Dark
also
Crystal.
same in Dark Crystal.
Of course, it's all Jim Henson. It's all puppetry.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
And I fucking got lost in that shit. And so I watched the series, the Dark Crystal series. Have you seen
The
that?
new one.
Bro, the Skeksis. That's everything. That shit was from the 80s, dog.
Dude,
what the fuck?
I promise you,
Baby
the
blood?
first fucking time I seen
Baby
it when I
blood,
was
dude.
like 5 years old in '96, bro. I seen the Skeksis. I seen the fucking purple vulture alien
Yeah,
things,
bro.
and was like, that is the embodiment of fucking like
Whatever's
that's
going on.
wickedness.
Yeah.
That's wickedness.
Yeah.
Like
and the what is it, the Gelfling?
Gelfling.
Yeah. They're the baby blood for sure, dude.
It's fucking
It's
crazy.
all real as fuck. It's so crazy.
So scary. Like that whole movie, dude, please, Alex. That's something. That's one you gotta.
No, it's like
when
I told
just
you,
mentioned that, I was like, of all
when
the
I saw
fucking
that, you were the
movies,
first person I thought of when I was like, dude, I feel like he needs to watch this shit for sure.
It's crazy.
Other people told me to watch it too. I'll get around to it.
It's funny because it's this old kids cartoon, and I'm like, dude, are they talking about the fucking government right now? Like, and it's like,
of course they are.
They
but
always
they
are.
definitely are.
always
It's
are.
like, whoa, dog.
The thing being is cartoons, especially, or any animated or puppetry stuff for kids. Back then, I mean, if you go further back, cartoons were never for kids to begin with. They were played in movie reels.
Like Fritz the Cat and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all that stuff it was adult entertainment because it was being played before a movie played and before the newsreel played. You didn't have television. So as kid shows or cartoons and things of that nature progressed, you also had the age of people making these things.
Yeah.
So, it's like nowadays, if I look at mainstream art, if you call it that, I see references that I recall from my childhood because those guys making that stuff at my age.
Yeah.
So you see a lot more things put in there. Now the counter to that is, and the problem with that is, you also have the standard narrative,
the cover up
that some of them want to continue to push on. So you have, just like anything.
Man, I just play devil's advocate with literally everything, and I hate it. But like, I feel like as I've climbed up around like the music scene in Nashville, I've met some people that are doing really, really well. And I think that the whole conspiracy of like a lot of rock stars and shit, like selling their souls, or like, I think that there's a lot of occult shit that's happening. But dude, a lot of it it's not. A lot of it is just people living their lives, and like shit happened, and people on the outside are like, "Whoa, was that a sign?" And it's like, nah, man. Like some people like have their fingers like this sometimes, and like you'll see like memes like, "Oh, dude, he's part of the secret club," and it's like, I don't know, man. That's been a thing in like every culture for a long time,
right? People will always read into things.
Yeah,
the idea, the idea of selling your soul in the entertainment world is more of a metaphor.
See, I like the metaphor side, but I think that there's more to it.
Robert Johnson didn't go meet the devil and sell a soul to him.
I think it was something.
He kind of did.
Robert Johnson.
Maybe not at a crossroads.
Robert Johnson was known to be attempting to be like Sunhouse and the other guys that were already around, and he wasn't that good. Then he disappeared for a while
and got really good.
And he came back and he was pretty damn good. That don't mean he sold his soul. That meant he went and practiced.
Did nothing fucking else.
But also what that means.
But that's what that is.
But what I'm saying is,
are you going to give it everything?
Think about this.
He gave up his time.
What he was doing beforehand might not have been bad, but it wasn't received by the public.
Yeah.
To sell your soul in art means I'm not going to do what comes out of my soul. I'm going to strictly do what makes me that dollar.
That's one way of looking at it.
That's literally what selling your soul is, because you are selling it.
Yeah.
You are selling it to the people, to the masses, and giving them some fabricated bullshit.
Yeah.
And not doing.
I think that's real, man. But no, man, there's definitely like a certain reality of like they are doing rituals and there are spells that are being casted. All that shit's so real, dude. Like if you just,
that's true too.
If you just, I think they're both true. I think you're like,
there's a lot of that. I know for a fact in blues.
I've had like debates.
Also, they're the same thing.
One of the
selling your soul to the devil looks like exactly. It looks identical to selling out to the music industry to make money, like trading your authenticity for the thing that's going to sell. That is the same thing. But it's a
smaller extreme of it. I think that there is definitely,
but it is a force outside of the universe.
I think that there's people that actually are like doing rituals and literally like.
No, I'm agreeing with you. It is something else.
Oh, yeah,
but the way you do that looks like sometimes. The way you do that looks like just selling out.
Yeah.
But it is that. It is a fucking ritual, but it doesn't have to be sacrificing a baby all the time. Sometimes it's you just being a fucking sellout.
Well, and the truth behind a lot of the magic, witchcraft, voodoo, a lot of that was being practiced through the Delta was not necessarily the musicians. Those musicians were busy trying to make their fucking money playing at house shows. The magic was going on by their women. The That's why you hear it in blues music. They're complaining about what's going to happen. She's going to put a hot foot powder all around my door.
Yeah, my baby done left me. Come on.
It's about what she going to do to me. It's about,
Yeah.
I'm going to Louisiana. I'm going to get me a mojo hand. I'm going to fix that woman so she can't have no other man.
Yeah.
The blues is how those guys are doing their magic.
And that's exactly what he's doing. And then that's a prime example because that's Latin Hopkins. And at the end of that song, he says, I was laid down thinking about me a mojo hand. I don't want to fix my woman so she can't have no other man.
Yeah, shout out to Mojo Hand.
And he's straight up realizing, and he's telling you about his story of realization. He don't want to use that same evil that got used on him.
Yeah. I think there's a middle ground where like people talk about rituals and I guess I grew up in a family that was a little opposite of yours actually. And they never pushed anything like this, but I've definitely paid attention to a lot of Christian culture, like online and stuff like that. And there's a lot of people that are like, all this is evil, this is evil, this is evil. We talk about rituals, that's evil. A ritual is lighting a candle, toasting a shot, or prayer before dinner is a ritual. Baptism. There's so many things that are very simple. Like a warm up is a ritual. A meeting before work is a ritual. Yeah, like
you always treat a gun like it's not like it's loaded.
Happy Birthday, the song, that's a ritual. Blowing out the candles, like putting your presents under the tree, going to church every Sunday is a ritual. Like it's all, I mean, a ritual is just like a vibe changer. It's like, what can I do with a physical artifact that will have effect on the entire room? Like sometimes, bro, open the fucking window. Like if a baby's crying, sometimes you just have to change something in the matrix and like turn the TV on or play music or open the window or like open the door or just like do something to get its mind off the current reality, and it just fixes fucking everything. And that's what rituals are. And I think a lot of deeper magic taps into just how far can you go with cleaning your bedroom. Right. Like, is your room like a really dirty space and your life is a dirty space?
Yes.
Well, maybe fucking clean your room and see what happens.
I'll try.
Right.
That's what feng shui is about.
And how far can you go into cleaning your room?
Just clean your room.
That parallels to cleaning your entire life. You know what I mean? And that's alchemy.
It's true. It's gonna expand as above, so below. If you do something in a microcosm, it happens in a macrocosm.
And so rituals are magic spells being casted where you,
and what's
by
cool
lighting
about
this candle, it's like the vibe starts now.
It's all,
you know what I mean?
It's all intentional action. Anything you intentionally do is ritual. But what's funny about that too is you have to do something physically in the world, whether it's say something, but it can't be just here. It requires some kind of action in the actual world. Yeah. Because you're tethering something here and bringing it here.
This is the most powerful muscle of all.
Yeah.
It's funny you mentioned like coming from, I have a kind of a parallel to everything that's been said the last little bit. I do come from an extremely religious family in one side of it. My grandma is very, my one living grandma is extremely religious, but what's funny about it is kind of a quick segue, and it comes back to intention, as you mentioned a minute ago. I've been taught like very black and white my whole life about a lot of these subjects, especially things like this. I come from a very, very like white, very Christian like background, but the one force that always kind of tore in the middle of that was you had my dad's family. My mom's family is more or less not involved with everything. They've always been kind of Southern Baptist, but as Southern Baptist is half the other people around. This side of everything definitely comes from my father's family. My grandfather was a Green Beret. He killed a man in 1963, and he was told you can go join the army and go to Vietnam, or you can go to prison the rest of your life. So he went to Vietnam, and they found out he was a fundamental killing machine. He served on 4 tours in Vietnam. He was a fundamental killing machine because he was abandoned by his own father, who had 19 brothers and sisters.
Everyone in prison, dude.
When he was like this is the 20s. But he was born. He got to the 60s. They said you can jump in or you can go to the farm. So he jumps in, he goes and joins, and he becomes Charlie's Ranger in a Green Beret.
Mm.
He serves 4 tours in Vietnam. He gets back. He said, you can stay in the military or you can become a contract killer for the United States CIA. So he spends the rest of his life being a contract killer for the CIA. My dad's teenage years, he's seen his father like leave multiple times because at that point, this was the end. It's like coming into the 80s. My grandpa would come wake up and be like, I'll see you in 2 months. And that was it. That was how life was a lot of times. So my grandpa throughout the 80s was doing a lot of stuff for the United States government. And he developed a lot of opinions about a lot of people in power in multiple positions and a lot of things.
I imagine he would, yeah.
And he fucking hated everyone. He is infamously he died when he was away from everyone in our family. My grandmother wasn't with him. He died in the company of 2 other people from the CIA, and we were all told he had a heart attack. And that was 2 years after I was born. But he spent the 80s advocating for lost children across the country. And a huge thing, and the big thing that a lot of people told me that rubbed him the wrong way, that he rubbed the wrong way, the powers that be, is he fucking hated Ronald Reagan. He hated Ronald Reagan because Reagan refused to go get the rest of the POWs from the Vietnam War out. And my grandpa was the number one motherfucker that was like, I will go do it. Give me the permission to go do it. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be on the book. I will go fucking get them out. Fuck them. Like they need my friends are still there.
Yeah.
And he didn't get to do it. And he fucking hated the government to his core. Right. But he never stopped working. Up to his death, he was still employed by them. But what that really did was that instilled a lot of wild values in him through the years of a lot of experience that he instilled into my aunt.
Yeah.
And my aunt was a woman who was raised by straight conflict. She followed her dad her whole life because her dad was a crazy soldier man. And her mom, my grandmother, was a very staunch religious little woman.
Yeah.
So as you would imagine, my grandpa's entire experience with both being in the CIA and in the American military, conflicted with my grandmother a lot.
Right.
My grandma was trying to teach my dad, my aunt, and my uncle, like good fundamentalist Christian values. Yeah. And my grandpa was in the back smoking cigarettes. And he's like, they're going to fucking kill you. He was a realist about things.
Yeah.
So what wound up happening is my aunt kind of went this weird, wild direction and was a child of the 70s and was like super like hippie dippied out, was super into Fleetwood Mac and all that. She goes down the route of spiritualism, like really hard, because my grandfather was raised, you brought up Florida, was raised in North Florida in the Glades by a Seminole Indian man. So his entire raising, because I told you he had 19 brothers and sisters and they were all abandoned across the South.
Holy shit.
That's why, and it's another way I found now, it's a wild music thing. There's a lot of Parsons all over America. There's very few Parson with only I don't have an S. And that's why I know a lot of times I'm like, I find my kinfolks. There is a guy that plays shoegaze in Northern Alabama, and his name is Cody Parson. And I hit him up.
What?
And I was like, yo. And he goes, man, he's like, you would never believe how many times people have hit me up thinking I'm you.
No,
oh,
and
my
I told
God.
him, I said, no, dude, what are your folks' name? Is Parson like your dad's? And he was like, yeah, man. We start talking. Dude, his grandpa and my grandpa were brothers.
No fucking way.
They were brothers. His
Really?
grandpa was Johnny. It was a whole thing.
Dude.
And it was a whole, we were like, isn't it wild? We're both named Cody. We both it's from the same family. He fucking plays music. He plays like shoegaze. There's a lot of Huntsville musicians and stuff that know him. He's from North Alabama.
Really?
But
have you ever met?
We've not met in person, but we've connected online. We make jokes about playing shows together all the time. We're gonna do it one day. But my grandpa had kinfolk spread all throughout the South. So while he was gone doing shit both for his job and in the profession, he wasn't around to kind of guide my aunt as she started getting into this spiritual journey of things. And my grandpa was way more of a spiritualist than he was a Christian because he was raised by a fucking crazy old Seminole Indian man. Yeah. So he was very much like,
and maybe informed by stuff he learned in the government. You're only
opening things when you intend to for good intention. Yeah. All of these kind of principles were like beat into him from a completely different fundamental school of like theology than my grandma was teaching my aunt, my uncle, my dad. Because she came from Southern fucking Christianity, like fundamental. She was like a Southern Baptist little lady, whatever. But my grandpa went through everything, was I'm fucking in Asia, seen tons of shit, seen every kind of fucking ferocity, carnage you could see in war, and was just like, fuck no.
Yeah.
So there was a theological like battle all the time in my father's household. But what that resulted in, my aunt fell down spiritualism, like the route hard, like fell down the rabbit hole really hard.
Mhm.
So my earliest memories of my Aunt Sheila was one of the main tarot card readers in Clarksville.
Yeah.
She owned a new age shop, tons of shit. So around, my Aunt Sheila was a complete starch opposite of my little Christian grandma.
Right.
But my whole life, I mean, fucking crystal balls, tarot reading, every kind of new age, everything you could imagine, until I was 13 years old. When I was 13 years old, my aunt, she was always the person that talked to me about all this stuff. She talked to me about everything. She like all of these discussions came from my Aunt Sheila. And when I was 13, I was at a point where I was living with her and my grandma for about 6 months. And my Aunt Sheila had told me she had been studying a new form of spirituality, a new form.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what she told me she was studying?
The Lord.
Kabbalah.
Oh.
6 months later, my Aunt Sheila, at 41 years old, has a massive stroke and goes completely blind.
You told me about that, man. That's
goes completely
crazy.
blind. And she attests to me after, and I'm like 13 years old, and I'm the boy in the family kind of around. My dad and my uncle around, but they're both strung out on dope. And I'm kind of like helping my grandma and her. And like I'm living with them through seeing this whole transition of her going blind. And this is like a 40-year-old woman going fucking blind. Like it's crazy. Yeah. So this whole life shift happens in our household. And my Aunt Sheila tells me after like time goes on, she goes, I really think that it was because of me getting into Kabbalah. She was like, she's like, I think that I fucked with the wrong things. I opened up the wrong doors and something shut it for me.
Yeah, because you don't get control when you open the door. You get control of the fact that you open the door.
Exactly.
But you don't get to decide what comes in and out. And I think that there's a way to control it. You got to christen and bless, but most people don't know what that is. And a lot of times people don't even know when they're opening the portal.
Right.
Because we don't have that connection.
No one has that kind of grasp. But what wound up happening is my aunt, and Aunt Sheila, at the core of all her spirituality, all her new age, all the tarot card reading, she was always still very affirming to me that things need to be light. Things need to be like white. Things need to be of like godly origin. Things need to be of goodness, of that concept. She was always reaffirming, only the good comes from God, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But after all this happens, she goes blind. She starts going down the rabbit hole. Her and my grandma are on the same tip now.
Yeah.
Where she goes extremely religious.
Yeah.
Extremely. Yeah. In the last 20 years of my life, my Aunt Sheila's been blind, but she's also been like the crazy old soothsayer lady that's like spitting all kinds of shit from the Bible and wants to talk about werewolves in the Bible and vampires and UFOs and all the shit that nobody in Christianity really ever wants to talk about.
Yeah, right.
But she'll be like, no, baby, we got to go watch Sid Roth. We're listening to Supernatural, which is like the crazy old Jewish dude with the Christian TV show that talks about all this stuff every night. So like, that's the other side of a lot of all this.
I gotta see that.
It's wild, dude. It's wild because he'll get on there and talk about like conspiracy theories and everything. And he's an old Messianic Jewish dude. So he's like, Jewish as fuck, but he's like praying to Jesus, and they have like little thing, and then he talks about crazy shit, and it's like, what? Like as soon as any of the government shit starts spouting off, he's had 10 episodes about the Vatican, and like he's just always like shit that you would not hear on any normal. Like most Christians look at it and they look at you all fucking crazy, they're like, but that's kind of shit my aunt's into.
It was anyways.
That's all. Exactly. That's
where you get to if you study long enough.
My whole family.
Exactly.
And if you're being honest with yourself.
Exactly.
They were like, we're the black sheep. And we're not even that bad. Like, we're all, like, my immediate family is all pretty chill. But, like, my parents are divorced. And, like, me and my sister smoke weed. And shit
right. It's like the taboo.
But, like, dude, everybody else in the family, like, goes to church every Sunday. And they got their lives super together. And, like, everything is super straight. But what's weird is I feel like I love Jesus more than all of them, kind of. It's weird.
It's a like, weird thing, dude.
But I feel like at the family reunions, like they're seeing
Jesus
me as like
wasn't
the devil
hanging
kid.
Out with the socialites and the cool people, bro. Jesus was hanging out with the tramps, the sluts, and the drug addicts.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic.
Here's the thing about
he was rock and roll.
In the Bible, all of God's friends are the ones that go through the shit. They're the ones that
there's like no perfect people that do
Yeah.
anything in the Bible for sure.
God like picks people that
Are broke.
and dangerous, capable.
But I
people.
mean, also you got to look at like David, dude. David is like my favorite character. He's just like the perfect middle ground between a fucking assassin, badass like warrior, but then he's like the kind, gentle like shepherd with a guitar.
Yeah, he's a great example.
We have it recorded that he had two like little fuck ups or whatever, but I think that there are still characters that represent
Moses
like
is pretty dope
good,
too.
you know.
Moses is a crazy motherfucker.
Yeah, I think Jacob is a really good example of like the dark path being like they kind of pointed out of like why does the bad guy get all the attention? And I feel like the prodigal son story sort of paints out that like God prefers the people that fall and get back up rather than the people that just stood up the entire show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it shows a lot more about you.
Yeah.
If you fall and get back up.
Yeah. Well, that you can work. I sort of rejected it at a certain age, and I hung out with like all the kids in school that were like, God's not real, and like, we got heavy into atheism, like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and like all those dudes. And for a long time, I was like, man, it's all silly, it's all bullshit. There's no God. And then I got to a point where, you know, I had some experiences, and everything just sort of changed. And I don't know. It's like I circled back around, but when I talked to the people that they never went through the circle, like I ended up back where they're at, but I understand it. I feel like
you walked the walk, bro.
times, and all the things that I could talk about in that path that I had to go through that I feel like is even more important. Now where I'm at is I was the kid asking all the atheist questions. I can answer all those questions.
Right.
Any like sassy, like, oh,
you
God's
found
real, why is this? It's like I can literally I know the answer to all of those things because I was so passionate about being like, I'll never believe in that shit until it proves itself. Same thing I've been saying. And it proved itself, dude. And I had experiences, and that sort of led me to see just like, damn, dude, if I wouldn't have been atheist for like 10 years before this, how useful could I have ever been as like the good little church boy who just stayed like that the entire time? Because now I have a relationship with sin more so where I understand it. I mean, I'm still pretty bad, but like I understand it more than like the average people who just think it's a silly religious term. You know?
I think that whole process, like that, there's a lot to be said for that. Because like I remember going to the secular humanism club in college.
Yeah.
And like, it was basically the promotion of humanity and society, like without religion. And I was like, I am incredibly intrigued by that concept. Like the idea of that's really, especially coming into college at a liberal arts university out of being fucking raised and like indoctrinated in like Southern Christianity. It's like, no, dude, the idea of, oh, no fucking religion needs to be talked about. Yeah. Awesome. Let's go fucking do it. Let's talk about progress without any fucking line tied to anything.
And that's true. Even if there is religion, like you don't need it.
Exactly. So that's why I was like secular humanism. Sounds tight. And I get there. And all the fuck it is like 20 atheist kids bashing Christianity.
Oh, really?
And I was like, I thought we came here to not talk about this.
Right.
Like, I thought we came
here. That's what it is, though.
It's like,
they don't realize.
And that's what killed me is they did. I was like,
God is more real to those people than a lot of church people because it's all they fucking talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
I find that most people that claim that they're atheists
they want to believe.
They're anti-Christian.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
I don't believe in the Christian God because I can't stand it, and I was raised.
They're a mono atheist,
but they've never looked into Hinduism.
They've never even read the Bible.
Right,
like so really read it.
So have most Christians, though. Most Christians haven't read the Bible either.
They haven't.
Well, I think there's
any of it. They're just there to bash their parents.
I think there's reading the Bible as a Christian that your parents and your preacher told you got to do, and then there's reading the Bible. And most people never read the Bible.
People in church don't read the Bible; they go to church.
There's a line from Dave Mustaine that I adore. It's a Megadeth line. What do you mean I don't believe in God? I talk to him every day. Like,
I was listening to that the other day.
It's a banger, dude.
What do you mean I can't be the president of the United States of America? Tell me something. still we the people, right?
Yeah.
If there's a new wave,
I'll be the first in line.
but it better fucking work this time.
We should play that in the Super Jam. That's tough as fuck. I love that song. P sells. Who's buying, boys?
Greatest bass line intro ever.
Tough, dude.
So people are like doing things now. It's kind of cool. Like killing CEOs.
That's the thing, dude.
And driving your fucking car through the front of a Mazda dealership. You guys see that?
I did, and the guy gets out and he's like,
I'm like, let's fucking
go. We need more of this.
Let's go.
It's a shame that violence has to be the answer for change sometimes, but like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of trash on the internet. There's a lot of trash happening in society. So many school shootings, and then that happens, and it's like, I'd rather see that shit than 50 school shootings. You know what I mean?
It's called
I would rather see more of those things.
America's practicing self-defense.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, violence is truly what has shaped this planet.
Yeah, everything.
And
it's America. It's the American dream.
We're pretending we're not being attacked right now.
Yeah.
Like we're not.
Nature isn't
being
harmony
violently
and like good vibes.
Well,
Nature is very chaotic and animalistic and will eat you the fuck alive.
It's a pretty good life we live in America, and
that's why we allow ourselves to be attacked.
So we're like, oh, it's not that bad. I get to sit on my couch and eat Cheetos and watch Netflix. It's whatever. But it's they get you fucking in the back subtly, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh man, I missed out on so much of my life.
Kick you in the leg,
and
then run away.
The poison and the hospital bills and all that shit, man.
Yeah. So anything America does is just self-defense.
It's a Boston Tea Party.
You can't have peace when someone is like currently stabbing you. It's like, let's make peace. It's like, okay, can you stop stabbing me first?
Yeah.
No, we can't have peace while there is a knife.
I definitely want to see more. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody like literally shooting somebody, but like seeing more people just actively stand up, or really seeing the people that have the responsibility, like someone like a judge or a police officer who has the discretion to decide, am I going to ruin this kid's life for like a gram of weed, or am I going to just not give a fuck about a weed charge? And if you do ruin
that kid's life over a gram of weed, you deserve to die.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not just one kid. It's like you've probably ruined hundreds of people's lives and then said, well, I'm just doing my job, or said, well, the law is the law. And it's like, well, your job's there for us and the law is there for us because that's what we made for our safety. And now you're stealing all of our shit and telling us this is in the name of justice and defense.
Putting that kid in a cage over some plant is violent.
Yeah.
To practice self-defense, those kind of people should be removed from society.
Yeah.
One way or another.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. It's evil.
Super
and
wrong.
Anything you do against that is self-defense. And we're just too soft as a country.
Yeah. There's not enough camaraderie. There's not enough people that are willing to squad up, because the system goes so deep that it's like, if we run out of Nashville cops, we'll get the fucking Franklin cops and we'll get the Murfreesboro cops. And it's like, or we'll get the SWAT team, or we'll call in the army. It's like, you're going to get 6 stars on Grand Theft Auto? Like, that's the fear. You know what I mean? It's like, how are people going to, like, the Luigi
place
dude,
that they don't go at all.
The Luigi dude did what he did, and then he ended up in prison. And it's like, I don't know. I think getting back to the religion and the aliens and shit, it's like, people talk about the resurrection and the crucifixion and everything of Jesus. And to me, one like pessimistic way of looking at it is that cross is what happens when you speak out. Like when somebody tells the truth, they get John Lennon or JFK or Martin Luther King or fucking, Kanye or whatever.
There was just a discussion about this. Like, it's the root. Like, crucifixion was primarily made to be humiliating.
Yeah.
You were publicly, that's all it was.
Yeah.
It was like, which way can we make sure that nobody fucking else?
It was the most painful, disgraceful, public.
Like there's some word in the English language that comes from
another movie.
Excruciating.
Yeah.
Excruciating comes from.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
really?
It comes from crucifix. It like literally comes from.
Hey, another movie that has a lot to do with what we're talking about. This new movie called Book of Clarence. It's one of the most like original movies I've seen in like a long time. It's pretty sick.
Okay.
That's such off topic, but no, it's like a fictional story that takes place in like Nazareth and ancient times of Jesus, and Jesus is a character. He's not the main character.
Oh, that's cool.
He just is a character that exists in the world, and the 12 disciples exist in the world, and like
It's like Life of
Mary
Brian.
I
Magdalene.
was say it sounds like Life of Brian. That's exactly what I was
Mary
going to say. It sounds
Magdalene
just like
and,
Life of
like,
Brian.
It's pretty interesting.
Got the Monty Python jokes up in here.
Yeah.
I love Life of Brian, bro.
Dude, me too.
On the bright side of life.
Yep.
Sorry, Gospel of Clarence, is that what it's called?
The Book of Clarence.
Book of Clarence.
It's Clarence in the movie is Timothy's brother, which Timothy is like the Gospel of or not Timothy. I'm sorry, Thomas. The Gospel of Thomas from the non-canonicals. He's Thomas's brother.
Okay.
And Clarence like is hatching all these plans to make money, and he wants to be like the 13th disciple, and then he wants to be the new Jesus, and like he doesn't.
It sounds like it could be really good.
It's awesome. He doesn't believe in it at all, but like over time through trying to pretend that he's the thing, he starts figuring out how like full of shit he is, and by the end of it, when like I don't want to give it away because you really should watch it, but like by the end of it, he realizes he's a dipshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's dude, and at the same time, the whole movie criticizes our attachment to religion, and like this is exactly what happened. And the movie subtly is like, what if it actually happened something like this, and then the story got written and translated, and this is what we have.
A little
Nice.
bit different.
You know what I mean?
That's cool as fuck. I'll
It's
definitely
pretty cool.
check that
It's
out.
definitely like fictional. It doesn't disrespect Christianity at all. It actually respects it.
It's just fan fiction.
In a philosophical way, it raises a question of like, we're gonna honor this and say that it's true, but what if it's kind of bullshit? You know what I mean? It's a really good like perfect middle ground, I think.
Nice. That's awesome. Have you seen The Last Temptation of Christ, where Willem Dafoe plays Jesus?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Neve showed me that movie.
It's crazy.
It's also non-canonical.
Yeah.
Like it's like an alternate history.
Yeah.
We covered quite a bit here tonight. Let's pause this and do this same group again sometime.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Cool. We'll see you next week.
Bye, Alice.